This stretch of land along the Chattahoochee River is the former site of the Chattahoochee Brick Company. The factory that occupied this space manufactured bricks that were used to rebuild the city of Atlanta following the Civil War. Conditions here were anything but favorable, as convicts, predominantly black men arrested for small crimes or no crimes, were forced to work there. They were often beaten into submission and subject to other horrible types of treatment. Many lost their lives on this land. Some were reportedly buried here. Local activists have advocated turning the site into a memorial as opposed to any further industrial development. The City of Atlanta recently filed a petition to stop Norfolk Southern's plans to build a fuel terminal here. In a recent statement, officials with Norfolk Southern announced it would abandon those plans. I'm Councilmember Dustin Hillis. This site is in my district. I stand with our nearby neighborhoods, historic preservationists, and environmental advocates who have been tireless in their efforts to fight this development. Our work is not done. We can't rest until this important piece of land is in the city's possession. I will continue to have conversations with my colleagues and the administration on the best way to ensure that happens expeditiously. The legacy lives.
We're here because once again, Atlanta is making history. We have opened up Unity Place, the first in the nation, one-of-a-kind housing for police recruits. So that's why we are here now. We are giving our recruits some place to stay, actually in one of our most vibrant communities. As we talk about community policing, we must give the officer a chance and opportunity to get to know the community. Once you're on call, once you're working, you really don't have that opportunity. But here now, at the beginning of their training, they have an opportunity to actually live amongst the neighbors, to actually live amongst the people that they will actually be protecting. So this is why it is very important. They're very excited about having the police officers in their neighborhood. First and foremost, it gives them a sense of security. And then once again, it also gives the neighborhood an opportunity to get to know the officer, because it goes both ways. The neighborhood has to know the officer as well as the officer knowing the neighborhoods. This is a catalyst. With everything, even with America being pioneers, we have shown and proven that this can work and will work. So now you give other people the possibility to actually go off and do something different. Don't stop with the police. Don't stop with the police. We have firemen, we have teachers, we have public safety workers, public workers. So let's start this and let this be the catalyst for us moving forward, doing other great things throughout the city such as this.
Today is Transit Equity Day. It's a day that's recognized across the country to recognize how important public transportation is to the lives of people in our communities, and that it's important to also support the people in our communities who rely on public transportation to get around. Today is also Rosa Parks' birthday, so this is a very important Transit Equity Day because of the inequities that were experienced on the public transportation systems in Montgomery, Alabama. It's a rainy day today. A lot of people who are trying to get to work are having to stand out in the rain waiting for a bus that might come 10 or 15 minutes later, may come a little early and might disrupt their whole day. We need to make sure that people can get around safely. Having relied on public transportation myself for several years, having given up my car and commuting all the way up to Forsyth County from right here in Mechanicsville, I've seen the daily realities of so many of my neighbors, of my constituents, and I want to make sure that I could take that history, that legacy, as an inspiration to make sure we get better policy for everyone across the city of Atlanta.
What this day means to me. Everything. I get to build on my family's legacy. My family came here with nothing, and the first time I ran, my father asked me why I was doing this to myself. This is something I've been working towards for years, representing my community, and I never thought I would get to be able to do that with my whole self. So it's still I'm just so excited. I'm so looking forward to learning from the people that have been here before us, that are currently on council, the veterans that have already been so helpful in helping us navigate who to talk to, the commissioners to get to know, how to pass and draft legislation, all of these pieces on how to just function and be our best selves on council. I think the thing I am most excited about is that we are going to get to lead under a mayor that truly understands the complexities of these issues, that has so much energy, and that wants to work with council and help us function and stop talking about the problems that we know that we have and actually turn that into action.
I am very much looking forward to working with the experienced members on council. I've also reached out to several predecessors of mine in the role of Atlanta City Council President for advice as well, and so I'm looking forward to learning. I think this job is very much about learning about the city, learning about what residents need and what they want, and the ways in which we can help. And so I'm very excited to learn from all facets of council and the city in order to try to do a great job in this role. I think today really marks a crossroads for Atlanta and a chance to collaborate on really big things. The mayor-elect, the council, we have a lot of things to do, but I think the spirit in which we come at today is one of working together, of building bridges. I think that's what folks are looking for, and I'm excited to work in that way going forward. Today is Rosa Parks Day. It's the anniversary of her birthday, and her action was about making sure that transit was available for everybody. It was about desegregating buses so that everybody could ride. And so I think that it's a great reminder as Transit Equity Day that transit is really about access. It's about making sure that people can get to jobs, can get to work, can get to school. And so her legacy is one that's not only about desegregation, but it's also about economic access. There's this incredible 1950s bus behind me, similar to the one that Rosa Parks sat down and wouldn't move on. She was an inspiration that individual people can make a difference, that individual people as part of a whole can really change America. Public transit is really the backbone of making sure that our economy can grow. Whether it's bus or it's rail, it's really the way that we are able to move our lives. And so I think the vision for equity in transit is making sure transit's everywhere, making sure it's affordable, making sure that it goes to the places that we need it to go.
I'm just thankful that the people of Atlanta have given me an opportunity to do work on behalf of the city. I'm looking forward to working with my new colleagues. Some of them have been friends of mine for a long time. Some of them are people who I've just met in the last few weeks, and I look forward to doing wonderful things on behalf of the city of Atlanta. You know, I'm been an advocate and an organizer fighting for communities on one side of you know this kind of conversation, but I recognize that there are a lot of systems, a lot of processes, a lot of just knowledge that I have not been privy to, that I look forward to being able to learn about, the histories, the ideas, just the stories that really have made the city what it is. And I look forward to learning from people who've been here for years or for decades in some cases. And I think it's important to help bridge the gap between the old and the new, the past and the future. We have to have positive relationships and even potentially friendships to move our city forward.
This stretch of land along the Chattahoochee River is the former site of the Chattahoochee Brick Company. The factory that occupied this space manufactured bricks that were used to rebuild the city of Atlanta following the Civil War. Conditions here were anything but favorable, as convicts, predominantly black men arrested for small crimes or no crimes, were forced to work there. They were often beaten into submission and subject to other horrible types of treatment. Many lost their lives on this land. Some were reportedly buried here. Local activists have advocated turning the site into a memorial as opposed to any further industrial development. The City of Atlanta recently filed a petition to stop Norfolk Southern's plans to build a fuel terminal here. In a recent statement, officials with Norfolk Southern announced it would abandon those plans. I'm Councilmember Dustin Hillis. This site is in my district. I stand with our nearby neighborhoods, historic preservationists, and environmental advocates who have been tireless in their efforts to fight this development. Our work is not done. We can't rest until this important piece of land is in the city's possession. I will continue to have conversations with my colleagues and the administration on the best way to ensure that happens expeditiously. The legacy lives.
We're here because once again, Atlanta is making history. We have opened up Unity Place, the first in the nation, one-of-a-kind housing for police recruits. So that's why we are here now. We are giving our recruits some place to stay, actually in one of our most vibrant communities. As we talk about community policing, we must give the officer a chance and opportunity to get to know the community. Once you're on call, once you're working, you really don't have that opportunity. But here now, at the beginning of their training, they have an opportunity to actually live amongst the neighbors, to actually live amongst the people that they will actually be protecting. So this is why it is very important. They're very excited about having the police officers in their neighborhood. First and foremost, it gives them a sense of security. And then once again, it also gives the neighborhood an opportunity to get to know the officer, because it goes both ways. The neighborhood has to know the officer as well as the officer knowing the neighborhoods. This is a catalyst. With everything, even with America being pioneers, we have shown and proven that this can work and will work. So now it gives other people the possibility to actually go off and do something different. Don't stop with the police. Don't stop with the police. We have firemen, we have teachers, we have public safety workers, public workers. So let's start this and let this be the catalyst for us moving forward, doing other great things throughout the city such as this.
I'm just thankful that the people of Atlanta have given me an opportunity to do work on behalf of the city. I'm looking forward to working with my new colleagues. Some of them have been friends of mine for a long time. Some of them are people who I've just met in the last few weeks, and I look forward to doing wonderful things on behalf of the city of Atlanta. I'm been an advocate and an organizer fighting for communities on one side of this kind of conversation, but I recognize that there are a lot of systems, a lot of processes, a lot of just knowledge that I have not been privy to, that I look forward to being able to learn about the histories, the ideas, just the stories that really have made the city what it is. And I look forward to learning from people who've been here for years or for decades in some cases.
Today is February 7th, and this is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Committee on Council. I am Andrea Boone, chair of this committee, and I would like to welcome everyone who has joined us this morning. We are also joined by Chairman Doug Shipman, President of the Atlanta City Council. Mr. Johnson, will you please conduct the roll call?
Councilmember Amir Faroki. Here. Councilmember Dustin Hillis. Here. Councilmember Antonio Lewis. Councilmember Mary Norwood.
Here.
Councilmember Howard Shook. Aye. Councilmember Matt Westmoreland. Here. Madam Chair, you have a quorum present.
Thank you. The Committee on Council recommends on matters pertaining to the operation of the Atlanta City Council, executive branch appointments confirmed by the Council, ethics issues such as a conflict of interest, revision, codification, and clarification of ordinance and resolutions, Council agenda, elections, rules, conduct and decorum of Council and members, and procedures for the office of City Council and the office of the Municipal Clerk. Mr. Johnson, please read our remote meeting statement.
Yes, Madam Chair. This Committee on Council meeting is being conducted remotely as advertised and is in accordance with Georgia Code 50-14-1. The meeting will be conducted in conformance with Robert's Rules of Order and the Rules of Council as authorized by the City Code. The public may access the meeting by dialing 404-902-5066, conference ID 151945, which was noted on the February 4th, 2022 Council's homepage and at citycouncil.atlantagA.gov, the Council's YouTube channel, or the Council's Facebook and Twitter pages via @ATL Council. All presentations are available on the Atlanta City Council Committee on Council presentation page. The agenda was published and made available on February 4th, 2022 via atlantacitygA.iqm2.com. In addition, the public was able to submit comments via voicemail at 404-330-6059 between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. the day before this meeting. All persons present on the remote council meeting conference bridge are requested to mute your phones and speakers. Additionally, speakers must be acknowledged by the presiding officer prior to speaking. Each council member is requested to open your Outlook email and minimize the screen. Amendments, substitutes, and informational documents have been distributed to committee members beforehand. Thank you all in advance for your cooperation.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved, Hillis. Second.
Is there a second? Please open the vote.
One moment. One moment. The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays, and items favorable.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved, Hillis. Second.
Norwood. Mr. Johnson, do you have that second?
I believe it was Councilmember Westmoreland.
That's fine. It was Norwood, but it doesn't matter. We're good. Thank you, Ms. Norwood. Please open the vote.
One moment. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
Is there a motion to adopt the full council agenda? So moved. Norwood. Is there a second?
Second, Hillis.
Please open the vote.
One moment. The vote is open. Will everyone please please vote.
Westmoreland votes in favor.
Will everyone please vote? Councilmember Boone, how do you vote?
Yes.
Seven yeas, 0 nays. The full council agenda has been adopted.
Thank you. 2022 Committee on Council Goals and Objectives. You all should have received a draft of the list of goals and objectives that were included in your committee packet. Goals and Objectives. Committee on Council 2022 Goals and Objectives. Review and take necessary action to fill the City Council appointed vacancies on the city's boards, authorities, commissions, and sunset any organizations no longer necessary. Review city boards, commissions that have not conducted a meeting in over a year for need. Receive quarterly updates from any member of the council or the council president who represents the Atlanta City Council on a board or commission. Explore the reorganization and consolidation of all advisory boards and commissions within the Atlanta and the possibility of creating an incentives program for members that voluntarily serve on these boards and commissions. To ensure that the Atlanta City Council's redistricting process meets all requirements of the state and federal constitution and laws and the charter and ordinances of the city of Atlanta, and will provide Atlanta citizens with fair and equal representation among its districts. Develop and approve a redistricting plan. Oversee the implementation of a new electronic legislative management system. Explore the reorganization and consolidation on all boards and commissions. Review the technology and process utilized by council and standing committees to ensure that they serve the council's needs in a remote, hybrid, and in-person environment, and ensure that they are optimized to facilitate customs, parliamentary procedures, and rules of conduct as practiced by the council and the standing committees. The chair of the Committee on Council to conduct a mid-year review of the interim council director and municipal clerk by October 22, 2022. Populate vacancies in office of the municipal clerk and office of the research and policy analyst. Last, update the status of departmental compliance with the most recent 3-year audit commitments. Any questions or concerns?
Councilmember Boone, this is Councilmember Hillis.
Yes.
I would like to add an additional item that this committee receive reports at least twice a year from the Inspector General on the work product produced from the Inspector General's office.
Thank you, Mr. Hillis. Mr. Johnson, will you please add that to our Committee on Council Goals and Objectives?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Is there a motion to adopt the 2022 Committee Goals and Objectives?
Councilmember, I would like to add something, Antonio Lewis.
Yes, sir.
I would like to add that we add a dedicated staff member to each committee, legislative aid to each committee that we have on council.
Okay, is Ms. Santana available to go over each staff name with the committee at this time?
And I mean one specific person for each committee dedicated legislative aid.
Is Ms. Santana available to go over that right now?
Yes, Madam Chair. Good morning, committee members. This is Santana Kempson-Wright, Interim Council Staff Director. Currently, the staffing for the committees are as follows. The Public Safety and CDHS and Zoning committees are staffed by our analyst, Corinne Lindo. Our Transportation and Committee on Council meeting is staffed by analyst David Johnson, and I currently staff the Finance Executive Committee and City Utilities Committee. We have onboarded 2 additional staff members that began with our team last Thursday. Mr. Jared Evans returned to us from the auditor's office. He most recently worked with us up until September 2019, as well as Ms. Motresa McMichael is joining us from the Municipal Court. She is a prior employee of the Department of City Planning as well as the Department of Watershed Management. We plan on transitioning them with training to City Utilities, Public Safety, Zoning, and CDHS by the return of from recess in April. And the anticipation is that Ms. Lindo will work with me from April until July to observe Finance Executive Committee. Mr. Lewis, are you requesting there is only one analyst per committee?
Yes, my request is that we get it to where there's one legislative aide or one analyst per committee. Seven committees, 7 analysts. Right now, with the increase, it looks like we went from 1, 2, 3 to 5. But I think that's stressing our departments. I think it's stressing your staff. I would like you all to be able to focus on one thing per analyst.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lewis. We will definitely have discussions with the various council members as well as the Department of Human Resources, as well as working with Chairwoman Boone, Council President Shipman, as well as Councilmember Alex One with the Finance Executive Committee meeting to have those discussions.
Thank you so much, Member Lewis. Is there a motion to adopt the 2022 committee goals and objectives?
So move. Lewis.
Second.
Second, Hill.
Thank you. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The 2022 Committee on Council Goals and Objectives have been adopted.
Next, we will move to presentation from our clerk, Mr. Forrest Webb.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. We have public comment next on our agenda.
Oh, okay. Do we have any public comment, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, we have 3 for a total of 6 minutes.
Thank you. Please proceed.
One moment.
United Creator Christ, my name is Miss Jordan. Let them be ashamed and confounded together that seek after my soul to destroy it. Let them be driven backward and put to shame that wish me evil. Psalms 40th chapter 14 verse. His petition is a plea for deliverance from his enemies, but it is wider than that. Jay Montgomery, why did you seek to be unjust to me or destroy me? These actions lead to death. Ye love me, keep my commandments. John 14th chapter 15th verse. Jesus teaches how to love you and keep your word. I desire Christ's will for my life. But if thou shalt indeed obey his voice and do that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thy enemies, and an adversary unto thy adversaries. Exodus 23rd chapter 22nd verse. Behold, I send an angel before thee. God promised an angel or mine angel for Israel protection and success. And above all things, have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity cover a multitude of sins. 1 Peter 4th chapter 8 verse. Hands and hearts. The cleaning of one's life must involve both outward deeds and inner thoughts. Cleanse us from every evil way that's not like Jesus Christ. We need Christ more than he needs us. The power to obey Jesus is what we need.
I am Brother Anthony Muhammad. I am a soulful spiritual being. I have no love for religion. I don't believe in religion no more. I continue to study the genetic history of our ancient aboriginal, our indigenous people of the earth, the dark people. And they have no knowledge of this religion, and they go 100% with the law of attraction of the elements of nature, doing right by one another. So I ask you, Council on Committee, how is it that since 1993, ACAP, Atlanta Commission on Women, was created, and yet today we have the mayor said, I am going to create 20,000 affordable houses. Now, if you didn't do it over 30 years ago, what is you going to do today? Do the darker numbers of our families who are the miseducated ones. How can you call yourself educated when you have Rupert Goldberg, Nick Cannon, made comments by a people who is known as the Jewish Caucasian? And yet, the people of the earth of North Africa was darker people all over the earth. And we treated people with all the love and total civilization. So I ask you now, you Caucasians, let's stand up for truth. Atlanta has a need for affordable housing. Let your voice be heard. Let your consciousness be known that you have friends that have wealth, friends in political and in social, most empowered environments. It's time to speak right for the least of those. We should not have to beg and vote for politicians. Don't need to go to church when the church won't speak about the issues that is important for the resurrection of the condition of darker people. I am Brother Anthony Muhammad. Let's find a way, Mayor Dixon. Let's find a way, council members of Atlanta, and do right, and build houses, do right, and provide opportunities for the Atlanta Commission on Women. Women and children should not continue to suffer in Atlanta. Mayor Hotel, Isolation, Brother Barr, and members of council. Let's speak up today for the least of those. Let's make action.
Greetings, members and staff of the Committee on Council, and special greetings to you citizens and voters of Atlanta who are listening to our public officials and to comments by the public. Ben Howard, Senior Advocate, Public Policy Analyst. As relates to item I on the agenda, it is regrettable and unfortunate that we are being prodded into action by a news media expose that hundreds of vacancies exist on the city's boards, commissions, and authorities. Last year, no action was taken when the Executive Committee of the Atlanta Planning Advisory Board unilaterally eliminated its Citizen Participation Committee, despite the fact that the APAB mission statement obligates APAB to enhance citizen participation. Last year, no action was taken to help the floundering cable TV management by fulfilling the city's obligation to populate the 7 board slots allocated to the city of Atlanta, 4 positions to be filled by the city council, and 3 positions to be filled by the office of the mayor. All 7 still go unfilled. Last year, no action was taken to reinstate the policy of assigning a staff person to boards like the Commission on Aging, which along with the Council on Aging was a fierce defender of the rights of senior citizens in senior zones and elsewhere in the city of Atlanta. Instead of simply eliminating boards and commissions, let's energize them. by populating them with citizens throughout the city who feel a need to serve others less fortunate.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. That concludes our public comment. Next, we will move to presentations for our boards and commissions update. Mr. Johnson, is our clerk, Mr. Forrest Webb, on the line?
Yes. One moment. Madam Chair, Mr. Forrest Webb should be on the line.
Mr. Forrest Webb, our clerk.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Presentation, boards and commissions update. Please proceed.
Good morning. My name is Forrest Webb III, City of Atlanta Municipal Clerk. I'm joined by Deputy Municipal Clerk Vanessa Walden and Base Coordinator Sean Brown. Thank you, Madam Chair Boone, and members of the committee for affording me the opportunity to provide an executive overview regarding BASE. Next slide, please. The acronym BASE stands for Boards, Authorities, Commissions, etc. The Office of Municipal Clerk serves as the custodian of BASE records filed by various boards, authorities, commissions, and appointing authorities. Appointing authorities would be the mayor, council president, or council member as authorized by the charter, code, state law, or authorizing legislation. Currently, the City of Atlanta has 124 boards and commissions. Next slide, please. Adhering to the elements when drafting and approving legislation is essential to the successful boards and commissions. Often well-intended legislative action, absent of valuable instructional elements, adversely affect the newly created base. Next slide, please. Currently, the City of Atlanta has 1,400 seats. 63% of those seats are vacant. 37% of those seats are filled. Apologies. 37% are vacant and 63% are filled. Base vacant and filled members are fluid as a result of the continuing expiration of terms, creation of boards, authorities, commissions, along with resignations and appointments. Vacancies are typically higher in an election year and the start of a new term prior to sunsetting research being conducted, which the chair of COC and executive offices will be jointly ongoing with the policy analyst assessing. Next slide, please. Active-based appointments are distributed to the elected officials twice a month, 24 times a year. The reports are prepared in categories such as mayor, council president, council district, and citywide council member grouping. Next slide, please. All reports provided to each appointing authority, updated and published to the City Council webpage for public inspection and transparency. The reports reflect appointing authority, appointee, term, start and end dates, authorizing legislation, charter, code, state statutes, and length of term, all of which is manually updated by the base coordinator in our database. Next slide, please. Illustrated is the City of Atlanta's homepage. To navigate the homepage, select the council division bar and select tab under the municipal clerk's header. Again, for transparency, the public has access to the same reports disseminated to the appointing authority. Currently online,
We have reports dating back to 2019. Next slide, please. Illustrated is a split screen of information contained within the base tab, Legislation and Reports. Citizens can review the attached charter and code sections regarding base guidelines. Additionally, templates to set up a new base, bylaw, mission statements, and blank base information forms are attached. Next slide, please. Illustrated are detailed active base reports. The active reports are updated and disseminated twice a month in conjunction with the council meetings each month. Listed active reports are as follows: all appointments, mayor appointments, council president appointments, individual council district and at-large appointments, full council appointment, and vacancy reports. Next slide, please. The deadline to submit an appointment to be considered at the next council meeting is the Wednesday prior to the council meeting. Please be mindful that the deadline and the appointments are vetted, researched, and input into ELMS prior to the published agenda by the base coordinator. Submission should contain appointment letter, appointee's resume or bio, and completed base form. To avoid a deadline bottleneck and eliminate delays, please submit timely, as the agenda is generated and published the Friday prior to the council meeting or public inspection. All submissions submitted after the deadline will be placed on the following meeting's agenda. Next slide, please. That concludes my report, and thank you for your indulgence. I'm available for any questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. I see that the City of Atlanta currently tracks the appointments for 144 boards and authorities and commissions. Of these, there are 1,400 seats, 63% filled, 37% vacant. Mr. Webb, will you please have a member of your staff individually contact the council members and let them know which seats are available for their areas? Do we have any more questions or concerns from the body for Mr. Webb?
Yeah, I would just like to talk to the staff. I would like to see the following information. I'd like to know the last time that each one of these individuals, each one of these entities met, how many times they have met, what percentage of the total composition of each entity is vacant, so that we can look at whether or not a fair number of these should be sunsetted, and so we don't have as many, the appearance of as many seats, because if there are base entities that have not met for several years, that's really important for us to know. So I would request that the municipal clerk's office give us that information next meeting so we can have an analysis of how many have been active and how many have not.
Ms. Norwood, I'm not certain if we'll be able to provide that information by the next meeting. Reason being, a great deal of the boards and commissions don't currently comply with providing us a copy of their minutes nor their attendance records. In addition to that, several of the boards and commissions don't provide us with a tangible contact person for the said board and commission. So subsequently reaching out to those particular boards have become very challenging when we've been trying to ascertain certain information per the request of any council member over the years. This is one of the reasons why I covered. Yes, go ahead.
Well, what I wanted to say is then that is very important information for us. If we get a list of which ones of these entities are not have not responded and are not giving you that kind of information, that'll be important. Council members can then review that and decide whether or not there is they were either involved in the creation of that entity, or they care passionately about that entity and would like to contact them and have them give us the information so that you can be transparent with every single one. So I would love to see that. If there are 20% of these entities that you have no information on, that's a very important thing for council to be able to assess.
That's reasonable. I cannot commit to the information being by the next council meeting.
Oh, that's fine.
That will clearly be our goal
to
do so.
This has been going on for years. So I understand. I just want to get a handle so that the council is analyzing it with the kind of data that I think would make it that I think is important for us to decide, is a specific entity, should it continue? Should it be disbanded? Do we need to, our sunset, do we need to contact them? We can decide that. The other thing that I'd like to recommend is that when a request comes out for a joint appointment, we need to figure out some order of that joint appointment, because again, I've been down here for years, and the joint appointments, who is first, or does it rotate? So if you have 4 districts plus an at-large, that's 5 people. And I've seen where some of those appointments become problematic because nobody knows who might be wanting to appoint someone. So rather than a list of all of those joint appointments, it would be great to have the request come out from the clerk's office to say to each person, respond if you want to make that appointment, so that they respond that you're interested in making that appointment, so they respond back to the rest of their colleagues as well as to y'all, so you know who is interested in making that appointment, whether it's a zoning review board, whether it's a commission honoring a significant person in our community, whatever it might be. We could have a better connect if the 4 members that you, or 5 members, all know that someone is responding to y'all, and if not, then and to be able to call their office so that we get some kind of order in the progression of trying to get that filled.
Thank you, Vice Chair Norwood. Mr. Webb, any other feedback from you, sir?
Yes, I would like to say that in the drafting of legislation, the impetus behind some of the challenges that we've observed over the years is when legislation is typically drafted, I would have to say that probably 90% of the legislation to create a board or commission or a task force doesn't speak to who the contact person is or to who will be staffing that particular entity. Subsequently, by default, it becomes the council member who drafted the legislation and their staff person in their office. And over the years, that has been a challenging situation for us. The same thing with respect to contacting the individuals for their oaths. Although there's been requests for us to personally reach out and contact the council members regarding their vacancies or their interest. Subsequently, we send out reports biweekly to each council person indicating what his or her vacancies and what their appointments are. In addition to that, the biggest obstacle that we currently have on a regular basis as we have each council meeting and those individuals that are confirmed by the council, we have a difficult time contacting the individual and scheduling their oath. Last year, we had in excess of 500 oaths that were scheduled, but it was very, very, very challenging to acquire their email address as well as their telephone numbers. Additionally, when the legislation is drafted, it would be helpful if, when drafting the legislation, the individuals that the elected official or the appointing authority has in mind they can simply add those individuals' names. It's a lot easier to reach out to those individuals by name and contact information, opposed to appointing a representative from blank, blank, blank entity. And subsequently, when we contact that entity, we have a very difficult time acquiring a name or an email or an address to send said notice that your entity, which is a outside entity, has an appointment to a board or commission, and to encourage them to make said appointment. But that's from a staffing perspective. I just felt that this was the right platform to give you that reasonable feedback. And one other thing, the vacancies, they aren't as alarming from our perspective as a staff person, because I indicated before, there were over 500 appointments that were made last year and over 500 oaths that were administered. And subsequently, those vacancies being fluid every council meeting and every legislative cycle, some of those boards, commissions, in the addition to creating boards and commissions, for example, Ms. Norwood, the commission that you created, it increased the boards and commissions by, I believe, 24 or 25 appointments. So fluidly, it may be a misrepresentation of what the vacancies are. They aren't as alarming. And of course, when you have a new term starting, respectfully, the council members that were the outgoing council members or the end of a term, they don't make as many appointments out of respect for the incoming council members. And subsequently, the new coming council members, they have to be given at least a cycle or two before they can ascertain, okay, these are the individuals I would like to appoint for said board and commission. But I receive all of the recommendations that have been made, and we will get on this expeditiously to give the report to yourself as well as Chairwoman Boone and all of the members of council regarding what the findings are.
Well, I think you made some very good points, and legislatively, Madam Chair, we might request or require, however we could do it, that there is a contact person and there is a person that will staff, or that we know that we are asking the clerk's office to provide the staffing function. I am with the task force I've just created. We did reach out to each one of those appointments and found out ourselves who the individuals are. We have contacted them. We'll have the first meeting on Thursday. And we got their emails and their telephone numbers because having been down there for years, I understood that if I gave you a list of 24 and you had no other information, that would be extraordinarily difficult. So my office is doing what I think makes it easier and more efficient and more productive, which is to take the responsibility. If I think the task force is important enough to appoint, I want my office to be very active in getting that information and getting that information to you. So I think those are the contact, the staffing, the email and telephone numbers of how to reach out to whichever entity, I think and the individual's name is very important information. Thank you.
Also, Madam Chair, if I can respond.
Yes.
Very, very briefly, that the summary that you gave Councilwoman Norwood is an excellent example of what we've had challenges with. Although you've contacted those 24 or 25 individuals, and you'll be having a meeting on later on this week, those 25 individuals or 24 individuals will still show up on our report as a vacancy, simply because we haven't been informed as to who those individuals are to even plug them in. And when it comes to staffing, I will maintain the position that the clerk's office is the office of record, not necessarily the office of staffing. Okay. And that is something that I would like to respectfully maintain. It is difficult to staff something that you're required to be the custodian of said records. So thank you, Madam.
I understand.
Madam Chair.
And Mr. Webb, we will get the names and the contact information over to you today, so you'll have that.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you. And to other members, if you have any questions, concerns, suggestions, please email them to Clerk Forrest Webb. And we are now moving on to our communications. Mr. Johnson, we have 4 communications. These items were found favorable in their prospective committees. If there are no objections from the committee, these items can be taken together as a block. Mr. Johnson, would you sound items 1 through 4?
Yes, Madam Chair. Item number 1, 22C 5011, a communication from Debbie Skopazinski, President, Atlanta Planning Advisory Board, APAB, submitting the appointment of Ms. Corrine Dent to serve as a member of the Atlanta Beltline Tax Allocation District Advisory Committee. This appointment is for a term of 2 years. Item number 2, 22C 5012, a communication from Debbie Skopazinski, President, Atlanta Planning Advisory Board, submitting the appointment of Ms. Denise Paris to serve as a member of the Public Safety Commission. Item number 3, 22C 5013, a communication from Debbie Skopazinski, President, Atlanta Planning Advisory Board, submitting the appointment of Ms. Dorothy Hurst to serve as a member of the Public Safety Committee. And lastly, item number 4, a communication from council members Liliana Bakhtiari, District 5, Alex Wan, District 6, and Matt Westmoreland, Post 2 at Large, appointing Mr. Jack Pyburn to serve as a member of the Zoning Review Board. This appointment is for a term of 2 years.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second, is there a second?
Second,
Norwood.
Thank you. Please open the vote.
One moment. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. This takes us to resolutions. Mr. Johnson, can you sound item number 5?
Yes, Madam Chair. Item number 5, 22R 3135, a resolution by committee on council to express the intent of the Atlanta City Council to start the 2022 redistricting process of amending council district boundaries as a result of the 2020 decennial census as required by Atlanta City Charter Section 5-202, reapportionment of council districts.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Thank you. Please open the vote. Oh, one board member. We have a member that would like to speak. We see a hand raised.
Madam Chair,
anyone?
Councilman Westmoreland.
Yes.
Yeah, just a quick question, either before or after the vote. I was hoping the clerk could walk us and the public through kind of a broad timeline for what we expect as it relates to redistricting.
Is Mr. Clerk still there? Mr. Clerk, Mr. Webb?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Generally speaking, I've provided all of the council members with a chronological schedule. The chronological schedule does not have actual dates on the sequential schedule, simply because I don't want to pigeonhole the council members in their deliberation. So it is outlined via step 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. The initiation of the resolution that you have today is initiating the actual redistricting process by providing intent and notice of intent to the citizens of Atlanta. The next step following the adoption of the resolution would be to have a general overview
of the redistricting process. The clerk's office will serve as the redistricting coordinator in conjunction with the law department and the Department of Planning, and who will actually provide legal advice as well as the actual redistricting maps themselves. We will start the process with 3 tentative maps to be used as a base for the start of the redistricting process. Following the overview, there will be a public information session so that the public can chime in and give their points of interest or their concerns at that particular time. Once the City Council has acquired public input, the next step would be to have an actual work session where the elected officials would take into consideration the public input. They're also in reviewing the maps and try and scale down what the interest of the council would be in terms of the drafting of said districts. Subsequent to that, there will be a second work session. And then subsequent to that, during the process of narrowing down the maps will be made available on the City of Atlanta's website. In that there has been individuals that occasionally come to City Hall to conduct certain business based on a scheduled appointment. There will be displayed maps at City Hall for those individuals who have who've had a scheduled business at City Hall. The next step would be to have another redistricting public hearing, excuse me, where both the public as well as the elected officials can engage each other. Then subsequently to that, there will be a drafting of additional maps. And when the time actually starts where the council is put on the clock after the preliminary work sessions combined with the discussions among the elected officials, then there will be an introduction of the actual charter amendment. And the charter amendment would include the legal description for the council districts themselves. Everything that I've said up to this point will be required to be documented, and everything that I've articulated so far, from the minutes for the public hearing, the recordings, everything will subsequently have to be provided to the Department of Justice. And let me digress. Once the charter amendment is introduced, the council will have 60 days at that point to adopt the legislation, as it is a charter amendment and it will require 3 reads. Anything prior to that is at the discretion of the chair and the city council at their at their desire, at what speed they feel that they should be moving forward. We're not necessarily, per the law department, on a time clock in this particular instance, in that we do not have an election year this year. And in subsequent years, we would be trying to do the redistricting prior to any said pending municipal election that would be coming up. So we're not in that type of time crunch. And just for the edification of the general public, the reason the city of Atlanta has started at this point is because the census reports were subsequently moved back multiple times. And the census reports are what the redistricting census tracts are developed from, based on population count. And the census reports, along with the redistricting, all were released late. And the city of Atlanta did not receive any information regarding the city's redistricting or the city's census information until the first week in November, which subsequently was the election for the city of Atlanta. And prior to that, there was not enough time to have
a redistricting occur when the elected officials that would be prevailing in said election may have been inadvertently drawn out of their geographical area. And prior to any redistricting in the state of Atlanta, per the state law and our charter, one cannot do redistricting 180 days prior to an election so as not to disenfranchise any voters. And one other element that I have not mentioned is that the Board of Education, along with the City of Atlanta elected officials, cannot be drawn out of their district that they currently represent. So subsequently, those individuals will be identified on the map so that they will not be drawn out of drawn out of their representative areas. And when it comes to the 60-day window, that would be statutory charter amendment process, and the document can be changed at any point during the consideration by the City Council, as long as the caption itself does not change. And we will notice the caption as we do with charter amendments, and it basically ratifies the intent of the council to do said redistricting. Once the legislation has been adopted, the law department will provide to the Department of Justice, the Georgia Secretary of State's office, and the Georgia State Legislative Reapportionment Office a copy of all of the work that has been done, a copy of the maps, as well as the supporting documentation. One thing I would need to add is once the submission is made, if there is an objection by the Department of Justice, then the clock would start back over on considering a new map if the map that had been determined and approved by the City Council did not meet the legal statutory requirements, which is the reason that the law department will shepherd the entire process. That would conclude in general.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Johnson, we do have a request that we found item 5 once more.
Yes, Madam Chair, will do. Item number 5, 22R, 3135, a resolution by committee on council to express the intent of the Atlanta City Council to start the 2022 redistricting process of amending council district boundaries as a result of the 2020 decennial census as required by the Atlanta City Charter, Section 5-202, reapportionment of council districts.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved, Phyllis.
Second. Boone will second. Please open the vote.
One moment, the vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Mr. Johnson, will you please sound item number 6?
Item number 6, 22R, 3136, a resolution by committee on council appointing council blank to the board of directors of the Atlanta Regional Commission for a term of 4 years, said term to begin upon approval of this resolution and for other purposes.
This item will move forward with no recommendation because we have 2 members, 2 candidates for the Atlanta Regional Commission. This vote will take place during the full council meeting. Please open the vote for no recommendation.
Madam Chair, can we get a motion in a second?
Oh.
So moved, Phyllis.
Second, Boone.
One moment. The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is forwarded with no recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Please sound item number 7.
Item number 7, 22R 3137, a resolution by committee on council to appoint council members blank, blank, and blank as the 3 members of the Atlanta City Council to serve as the Atlanta City Council representatives on the City of Atlanta Defined Pension Benefit Plan Investment Board for a term of 1 year to begin on the date of the approval of this resolution and for other purposes. And Madam Chair, this item needs to be amended to add council members Howard Shook, Antonio Lewis, and Jason Winston as the appointees of the investment board in the caption and throughout the legislation.
So we get a motion to amend these to add the appointees.
So moved, Westmoreland.
Second, please. Second, Boone. Please open the vote.
One moment. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended. Can we please get a motion to approve as amended?
So moved, Westmoreland.
Second, Norwood.
Second.
One moment. The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. Madam Chair, this concludes our legislative items for today.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. We are adjourned.